Today in the show, we're going to be talking about the history of Galactus, the Devourer of planets. If you didn't know that this character was almost entirely inspired by the Bible, then this show is for you. So Galactus would first appear in Fantastic Four number 48 in 1966. So when Galactus was made, comics weren't really known for having a big bad guy, not at least to the scale of Galactus. Because of something called the Comics Code of Authority, most villains had to be easily beatable, or at least conceivably beatable, by our good guys. But in the end, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby got tired of writing this, so they decided they were going to bend the rules a little bit. And this is when they started work on Galactus. Jack Kirby had a really hard time thinking of something like this, so this is when he turned to the Bible. And he got inspired by the number of times that the Christian God basically fucked people over in cold blood. And naturally, every god needs an angel, which is why he created the Silver Surfer. So when they were writing Galactus, they had a really hard time. You see, if you're writing a god, it needs to be above mortals. They need to see themselves above mortals. But if it's being written by mortals, how can you write that? It was just really difficult for them to get this concept of Galactus being above everyone onto paper. But then in 1966, it happened. So Galactus is the only survivor of an entire universe that existed before our current one, but his universe was on its last legs. Back then his name was Galan, and he was from the planet Ta. This planet was the most advanced planet known in the universe. Its technology was far beyond our imagination, and it was a utopia. But you see, all universes start out as a cosmic egg. Then a big bang happens, and then everything gets spread outwards, and then eventually everything comes back into this cosmic egg. And this is the position Ta was in. It was gradually being sucked in to this new cosmic egg. And Galan was actually a space explorer that got sent out to the universe to try and find a way to stop this. But he just couldn't. He couldn't figure out a way. And then eventually most of his people died because of radiation from the cosmic egg. So he turns to his people and are like, right, we have two choices here. We can either slowly die of radiation, or we can go by our own hands. We can take this ship and dive straight into the cosmic egg. And all of them kind of look at each other and they go, you're right, let's do this. So he takes his starship, they begin to drive into the cosmic egg, and naturally everyone dies, but Galan doesn't. He finds himself empowered by this energy. In the final moments of the universe, the Phoenix Force gathered all the positive emotions that had ever existed in that universe to allow Galan to meet with this universe's version of Eternity, who was about to die. Eternity basically says to Galan that they are both going to die. No matter what they do, they won't exist again in their current forms. But they can both survive if they join their hearts together and create a new version of themselves to go forward into the next universe. And Galan looks at Eternity and says, right, let's do this. So Galan is taken into the womb of Eternity and basically becomes a fetus inside of Eternity and is developed over billions of years till the next big bang happens and Galan is sent out in his starship, but now as Galactus. No one knows how long Galactus was drifting in his starship at this time. Life wasn't in existence, and even when life came into existence, Galactus just drifted. He didn't do anything at this point. Eventually the Watchers would come into existence, they would advance, and they would become the most advanced race that the universe has ever known. They see Galactus' starship and they want to study it, and they realize just how strong the thing inside is, and they're like, maybe we should kill it? And then they decide, no, we don't interfere, that's not our job, so they just send it back out into space. Which is good, because Galactus is needed for the balance of the universe, but we'll get more into that later. At this point in time, Galactus had developed enough to actually start taking action for himself, so he made himself a suit of armor to help him regulate his newfound cosmic power, and then he turned his starship into an incubator and continued to develop. During this time, he would start to orbit around Arcopia. The Arcopian people would look at this incubator and would go, huh, what's that? Let's leave it. But then they would eventually go, huh, what's that? Let's kill it. So then they go to kill it, and then it kills them. And then Galactus wakes up and is like, huh, I'm really hungry. And then he just eats Arcopia. It's here that he transforms his starship into a world-sized starship, and he names it after Ta. During this time, he would only eat planets that didn't have sentient life on them, and he would wait as long as possible before he needed to feed. So there was a few hundred years between each meal. But this would get more and more frequent, and then eventually he didn't want to search for planets that didn't have sentient life, because that's hard work. Like, you're really hungry and then you're going around and you just keep finding lives in the way of your next meal. So then he starts eating planets that had sentient lives. Eventually he comes to the planet of Zenla, and this is when Norin Rad comes to him and is like, look, don't eat my planet. I will work for you. I will explore the universe and find planets that don't have lives on them for you to eat. Like, you won't have to do any searching anymore. I will do all of that for you for the rest of my existence. And Galactus is like, right, deal. And he gives this guy the power cosmic and turns him into the Silver Surfer. Things went on like this for quite a while. The Silver Surfer would find an empty planet, Galactus would eat said empty planet, life would go on. But this is when Galactus would turn his attention to Earth and would go, that looks really tasty. I really want to eat that. This caused the Silver Surfer to be like, fuck you, and then Galactus just kind of banishes the Silver Surfer to Earth for all of eternity. So Galactus tries to go forward and eat Earth, but this is when Reed Richards comes forward and is like, I have this thing called the Ultimate Nullifier, and if I use it, it will destroy the entire universe, including you. So Galactus is like, fine, I guess I'll leave Earth alone. He would then try and eat the counter Earth and would be stopped, would try and eat Earth a few more times and would be stopped. And you would think that he would get the message of, don't eat things that try and kill you. But one time he was dying, he was on his deathbed, and Reed Richards decides to use Thor's hammer to revive Galactus, and after this Galactus is just so thankful that someone like this would help him live after everything that he's done, that Galactus says for once and for all that he is going to leave Earth alone and that he's going to stick to this promise this time. Eventually Eternity appeared before Galactus and tells him that it's his job to balance life and death in the universe, to make sure that life and death never become stronger than each other. But just like everything, Galactus also has an opposite, and his opposite is the in-betweener. So while it's Galactus's job to keep life and death just as powerful as each other but separate, the in-betweener likes to cross everything over and create harmony between everything. But then something snapped in Galactus. Something bad snapped, and he started only eating sentient life forms on planets. But the thing is, he had to consume the life essence of the planet itself, and he wasn't doing that, so it was never filling him up. He creates a new herald called Redshift, and the two of them would turn their attention to Earth. The Surfer would defeat Redshift, and Galactus makes the Surfer his herald once again, and then the Surfer leads this evil Galactus to the Shi'ar Empire, and then the Shi'ar Empire, a few other heroes, and Earth's heroes are all able to team up to defeat Galactus once and for all. Then this allowed the Surfer to use Galactus's own energy siphoning devices against him, reverting him to his natural form, which was a sentient star. And he would never reform. He was essentially powerless in this state. This allowed Abraxas to get out, who caused chaos all around the universe, which caused the Fantastic Four to look for the Ultimate Nullifier once again so they could try and use the same tactic to save the day, but naturally Abraxas would get to the Ultimate Nullifier before they did. But this is when Franklin Richards used his cosmic level powers to return Galactus to his natural state, which allowed Galactus to swoop in, take the Ultimate Nullifier off of Abraxas, pass it on to Reed Richards. Reed Richards would use it, essentially destroying the entire multiverse, but then everything built itself from the ground up exactly how it had been before, minus Abraxas, meaning this story never happened. Eventually, Galactus remembers about something called the Galactus Seed, which would essentially make him immune from his own hunger. So he decides to go in search of it, and it's in Asgard because this seed actually gave birth to the World Tree. So when he turns up to Asgard and goes to Odin, look, I want to eat your seed. Odin's like, no. And the two of them would have a telepathic fight, because if they fought physically, they would destroy the entire fabric of the multiverse, and they just didn't want to do that. But then Loki hides the seed in the World Tree itself, and Galactus decides to give up after this because it would essentially be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but this haystack was the size of the universe. I do just want to say something very specific here. I haven't really focused on Galactus's heralds so much in this video because this is the history of Galactus. This isn't the history of Galactus's heralds. They've all got their own stories that are independent from Galactus. When Ultron destroyed the Earth and Wolverine essentially had to break the timeline to restore Earth, a number of characters ended up being thrown across to different universes. Galactus was actually thrown from Earth 616, the core Marvel universe, to Earth 1610, which you may all know as the Ultimate Universe. So to put a long story short, Galactus and Galactus's Ultimate Universe version, would end up merging together, causing chaos, but then Galactus would be defeated, he would be put into a coma, and then be put into the negative zone. He would eventually be brought back to Earth 616, but then Battle World would happen, so it essentially didn't mean anything. And then in all new, all different Marvel, something great happened to Galactus. So he was forced back into his incubator that caused him to evolve in the way that he did, but this time the process was accelerated by neutronium, and it's the Ultimates forcing him into this incubator, so this is like a really impressive feat, full stop. He surpasses being Galactus the Devourer of Planets and becomes Galactus the Lifebringer. He now has the ability to restore all the planets he ever consumed. But if you want to find out more about that, you're just going to have to read Ultimates, because it's very, very recent and I don't really like covering stuff that you can easily access yourself. So my opinion on Galactus is that he is a great character when he's done properly, but I like his origin more than any other part of him. I like how weird it is. Galactus as a concept is brilliant, but 9 times out of 10, Galactus in practice just isn't interesting, which is why I'm really enjoying Ultimates, because it made Galactus interesting. I would definitely recommend picking up Ultimates if you want a new spin on the character of Galactus. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. So what do you think of Galactus? Please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history videos. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon if you want to see bigger and better and more history videos. And also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.